Okay, so for the second big video on this van, a lot of you guys in the comments on the last video when we were epoxying this, as you can see, we've got all the epoxy down on that. If you want to see the video on that, I'll leave a link in the description to that. Now, a lot of you guys were saying what a big job this is, and also where would you even start, hence the title of this video. So where would you go about starting on a big job like this? Now, say for some of you novice guys and beginner guys out there, you're going to look at a van this big and just think, wow, that's overwhelming. But if you had, say, a wing to do, or a quarter panel to do, or a door, for instance, it wouldn't be so overwhelming. So this side of the van now is pretty much all done. I've just got round the vent to do and a little bit round the two rear arches to do, and then that's that side of the van all finished. We've got all the window lips done, all around the windows. We've cleaned up all the wobbling in the panels. We've got all the low spots out from everywhere, tidied up all around the arches, and everything now on this side is pretty much done. But as you guys were asking, you know, where do you start with a big job like this? So for me, the easiest way of doing this is, one, obviously try and do it the right way with the right tools. And number two, make sure that you're not biting off more than you can chew. Now, whether you're experienced or inexperienced, it's always a good bet to try and not rush and do too much at once. So for instance, here we've got obviously the top section, which needs a bit of work where they've been cut out and re-welded in. We've got the corner section, and then we've got the quarter panel section. So for me, that would be the way to work it. You know, we can use the window here as one section. We can use the corner piece as another section. We can use the bottom corner piece as another, and the quarter panel as another. Now, as far as tooling goes, there's a few main things really that I would use. You want a decent filler, something like the UPOL premium range that they brought out. The blue filler, it's extremely good. It blocks really nice. So it's really good for doing larger areas like this, where you've got a lot of repairs and you're going to be putting a lot of filler on, because a lot of blocking does get tiring on your arms. Now, a decent guide coat, so we use the Mercer dry guide coat, will also help out massively. So the way that I would start off is, we take these panels around here, we'll guide coat those panels up, and I'll guide coat the whole corner, and then I'll block out the whole corner. We'll find any low areas and any repair areas that we need to do, and then we'll use it section by section. So say for instance we did the top corner first, because we've got a panel join there, we've got an end on the panel there, so we can work on that top section, say from the rib to the gutter. Do that little piece, then we'll move down to the lower corner, and then once the lower corner is done and that's all filled and that's all blocked, then we can move on to the quarter panel. This way you're not biting off more than you can chew. You're not trying to do all three bits at once, which can get a bit overwhelming for a lot of people. Even a lot of repairers that I've known over the years can't or struggle doing multiple panels at once when it's such a big job like this. The other thing that I'd say is, because a job like this obviously is so massive, when you're talking about a side like that, where you've got all the top around the windows to do, you've got the whole bottom to do, and there's a lot of stuff going on, that's the reason why I've done that section on this first. Doing that section gets the biggest part of the job out of the way, because physically and mentally, a big job like this can drag a bit. So if you get the largest, hardest part out of the way, and then work on to the smaller areas, and then like we'll do the panels last, then it just gets the bulk of it done, so that when you're doing the rest of it, there's not as much of a drag, you know, when you block in and everything on you and on your body, but also, you know, mentally, you know, it doesn't seem never ending then, because I knocked out that whole side probably just over, I think, 6 hours. I think by the time I've done that top corner, I'll probably be into about 8 hours by the time I've done that top bit around the vent and also the two arches, but then that'll be that whole side's completely finished. in effectively 1 working day. So if I next do the next biggest bit, which is the quarter panel, that corner and the other corner, and then the smallest section, which would be the front, that'll break it up and make life a little bit easier for me, physically and mentally, as we go across the job. Also, some decent blocks. So we've got these ultra flat polycarbonate blocks, which we've been working on for a while. We've got them in a few different sizes. Decent pads, decent sanding pads. So for this we're using the Mirka Abronets. Now they are a little bit more expensive, but they make blocking something like this a lot easier. Now the whole first stage of the blocking on this van I'm going to do with the P80. The reason I'm going to do it with the P80 is because it's fast, it cuts harsh, so we can level everything out and give it a real harsh cut to get all the highs and all the lows and everything into place. And then when I've completely finished the van, 2 of us will go around the van and 180 block the whole van out, ready for the next coat of epoxy and then the primer. So I'm going to take you guys through a few video clips of what I'm doing, how I'm doing it and why. As always, I'll talk you through what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, and also what we're using so you guys can see along the way.
So the first thing that we're going to use is the dry guide coat from Mirka. Now it comes with an applicator sponge, and all you need to do is shake the pot up onto the sponge and it will apply the powder to the sponge, so then you can apply it around the panel on the body of the car or the repair area or whatever it is that you're doing. Now if you're using a dark coloured primer like black, you could get the white guide coat. If you've got anything else pretty much like a dark grey or, you know, a beige or, you know, anything really that's not black, you can get the black guide coat and use that, and it's really good. The darker the guide coat, the more it'll stand out, so the better view you can get as you're blocking out the vehicle, so that you can see all the defects and any issues that you need to address. Now, although this looks pretty straight, before we had to tear it down, we did notice there was quite a few lows and quite a few wobbles in panels, and we want to try and get it as best we can. Now in a previous video I said obviously that we weren't trying to get this thing concourse, which the customer actually commented on this the other day, that I shouldn't knock my own work so much, I should have a bit more sort of confidence in the work that I do. And granted, you know, compared to what this van was like, this van is going to be exceptional compared to what it came in as. You know, it's going to be pretty much as near concourse as we're going to be able to get it for the job that we're able to do to it. You know, it's not like we can media blast the whole thing or anything like that, so it's going to be as near concourse as we can get it, to be fair. You know, we've gone to town with the primer stage and the blocking stage and everything to make sure that we can try and give it the best flat finish and give it the best look when it's done that we can possibly give it within the budget and the time scale and everything that we've got to work on the vehicle. Now these polycarbonate blocks that we've been working on producing the last couple of months, really good for jobs like this. This long block is a 420mm block, so this will take a full pad. So on big panels like this, you really want the biggest block possible. Obviously there's some areas like when you get up near the top and obviously above the light there that I'm gonna need a smaller block, and you've just got no way of getting around that. And there's also some areas where, so you need one that's slightly flexible, so we've got some without the tube on so that we can get around some of the more curved areas on certain sections on certain vehicles. But doing a lot of restoration work like this, we need a really good set of blocks. We've been using Dura blocks now for a couple of years, but unfortunately they're getting very tired. They have lost a lot of their shape as well, and with these being polycarbonate and the bond that we've used and everything to attach the tubes, these are very strong, extremely flat. So for big flat panel vans like this, and a lot of the T5s and stuff like that we do, and a lot of the restoration work that we do, to be fair, these are absolutely ideal. Now as I'm working around, I've blocked everything out. I've now got a few low areas, which you can see by the guide coat there. So anywhere where you've got those slightly darker patches is where we're going to have to address the low spots. You can see areas where it looks like I've rubbed filler down. Now that's from previous repairs where the filler work was a little bit too high. And you can see, you know, in some areas we're down to old primer, in some areas we're down to the old blue. But none of that's going to matter in the end once we've put a sealer coat of epoxy back over this before we come to do the high build stage. So now we've highlighted all the areas we need to work on. The next stage, just on this section, as I said before, is to get some filler on there. Give it a nice fine skim. We're not loading this up heavily with filler. These are just very light, low areas. So you could use something like Dolphin Glaze or a very fine sort of finishing filler rather than a heavier filler, because we're not putting any build in. We're literally just getting rid of like low areas within the panel that when it's painted will give the panel a slight wobble look, which, you know, these vans, even brand new, weren't perfectly flat, but we want to try and get it as close as possible as we can to flat. So again, here I'm using the semi-flexible block, just going around this window frame whilst that filler goes off. It just makes a little bit better use of my time, that while the filler's drying on that back corner, I can get around this window lip and get all that blocked out and get that ready for putting a little bit of filler in, so the filler can dry up there whilst I start blocking the filler on this corner. Now, there's only obviously certain areas that we need to do here. We don't need to reblock this whole corner, so I'm only going to be blocking out where I've done the filler work. I may or may not use a variation of the 2 blocks or 3, 4 blocks, whatever it takes me. You've just got to kind of do it more by feel and work each section of the filler that you've put on. You know, you might take you 1 skim, it might take you 2 or 3 skims. It's not a written rule that, you know, once you've blocked it out, that it's only going to take you 1 skim. Then once I'd got all that work done, it was on that corner, it was time to move on to blocking the quarter panel out, and then I'll basically fill, block, repeat all the way around the van until I've done every panel on the van. But as I said before, I'll try and split it up, so I'm not doing all the panels at once. I'll do 1 panel and then concentrate on the next panel, and so on and so on, and that'll just make your life a little bit easier when doing a large job. So it's the next afternoon now, since we showed you the last little bit, and I'll give you guys a little bit of a walk around of where we've got up to and what we've managed to get done and what's left to do. So as far as the back end goes now, all this is finished. Everything's been bodyworked around there. All the door shut areas have all been done around, I guess it's the bonnet rather than the boot on this. All the lower section's been done right up to the very edge. All the channels been put back in. We've smoothed round all the vent, that's been done, and I've blocked out all that section of the top up there as well. Now, whilst I've been bodyworking this big section, I've been doing the top section. So while I've been waiting for filler to dry on the bottom end, just to make a bit of better use of time, I've been blocking out, filling and doing any work around the window lip that it needed, and also in the channel in here. I wish I had a picture of it before in there, because it was just absolutely full of God knows what, like stone chip, God knows how many layers of paint and everything inside that channel. And now it's nice and clean, it's all been taken back, there's no filler gone in there. We managed to get it all just by bare metaling it and epoxying it. This Meeper epoxy, I have to say, is very nice. Now as far as this side goes, we had quite a big low spot running all the way almost down that side. There's a bit of a low spot in the middle and on this end as well. And also a bit of a low that runs across the top of the arch. Now, I've got them up to a certain point where I've done all the undersides, both sides. I've refaced and reshaped all the arch itself. All I need to do now is run a grinder along the metalwork just to make that a nice smooth edge and even all that back up. But I'm just waiting for a delivery of some filler to come in. As soon as the delivery of filler comes in, then I'll get on giving this a light skim with some Dolphin Glaze up this side, just to finish that panel off, because it's, the problem is with this panel, don't know how well it'll show on camera, is literally you barely touch it and it flexes. And big panel vans like this are quite awkward for that. So I need a filler that's going to come off really easy and really nice. Now at this stage, I'll leave all this in a P80 so that when I've done all the bodywork, we'll just go over the whole van with a 180, which will make life a little bit easier, rather than trying to block all this twice now. Because in the last couple of days, I spent around about probably 12 hours blocking this. But it's now at a stage where it's looking pretty nice. We've also done all door shut edges. We've
Got a little bit of work left to do on the sill. I've blocked out all the centre panel, and we've also blocked out all inside the door shut, done a few repairs and sorted out the door shut down to roughly about there. So at the minute it's not looking too bad. I've probably got maybe Friday and Monday left to do as far as the bodywork goes, and then we should be pretty much done. And then we'll do the next video on it where we'll be putting a sealer coat on it just to seal all the paint edges and all the filler work down. We'll be using an epoxy, the same epoxy sealer again, and then we'll be doing a wet on wet primer over the top of that for the high build, so we can then start getting it ready, blocking it out for paint. Now the other thing that a few of you might have noticed that we announced the other day is we have a new sponsor called SP Supplies. Now these are the same two guys that we've been dealing with for a very long time now. They've left and are in a new situation now where they have started up SP Supplies. They've got a new website, all new social media and everything, so I'll leave links in the description to all their new website and their Facebook page and Instagram and everything like that. It will enable us to get some newer products and manufacturers in and take a look at some new stuff that maybe we haven't looked at before, or the opportunity has not been there to look at before, which is obviously good for us for the channel, because we get some different reviews up and look at a few different products and a few different maybe processes with different products, different manufacturers and different brands and that sort of thing. So do go over and show the two Daves some love, give their Facebook page a like, and also check out their new website. Stuff is being updated on there daily, so over the next few weeks expect a lot more stuff on there and a bigger range of stuff as well. So that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video on how I would go about the repairs on this restoration job, and I'll see you again soon for the next video. Bye for now.